related to the risk regulation in banking industry, related to risk regulation, and what are the necessity, why it was necessity for the risk regulation in the banking industry itself, and what were the goals related to it. Okay, so regulations promote better definitions of risk. So the risks were already identified, but the thing is, that we were not able to manage those particular risks. So particularly regulations were having several goals. So what these were, first of all, it was related to improving the safety. So we were to improve the safety in the banking industry by imposing the capital requirement. Now what is the capital requirement? Let us take the case that the bank is having deposits of 100 crore, that the bank is having deposits of 100 crore. Now against these 100 crore deposits, 90 crore of the amount can be lent out only. Why so? Where does this 10 crore rupees goes? So just for an assumption, let us take the case that out of these 100 crore of the deposits, only and only up to a fixed amount or can be lent out. 100% of the amount cannot be lent out, because it is the case that you have to maintain the CRR and SLR, that is the cash reserve ratio, and statutory liquidity ratio are to be maintained by the bank in the form of the cash or in the form of the gold or unencumbered approved securities. Okay, and also banks are to maintain the minimum capital, which is basically as per the regulators, which is prescribed by the regulators itself, so as to cope up with the risk. So each and every financial activity which is undertaken by the bank itself, it is basically having the risk elements associated. And further, so as to improve the safety, it is very much necessary so as to maintain this capital. So this capital requirement was imposed. Under these regulations. And also setting up the common benchmarks. Now benchmarks are related to what? Benchmarks are related to the minimum standards which are to be followed up. So let us take the case that in this particular territory there are 16 banks there. So each and every bank would be maintaining the capital as per them. Okay, but there are set up the minimum standards that at least this much capital is to be maintained. And further, that is related to the setting up of the common benchmarks for all the players in the market itself, so as to level the competition in the market itself. Okay, then it is related to promoting sound business, that a business must be promoted, but it must be also secured enough. So it must be sound enough, and further the supervisory practices are to be followed up. So whatsoever the business is undertaken by the banks itself, it must be regulated, and it must be supervised also, and controlling and monitoring of the systemic risk. Now what is systemic risk? We are going to learn regarding it first of all. So systemic risk is the failure of the whole banking system. So basically these banks depend upon each other, in where basically these individual banks depend upon each other. So either the banks have lent the amount to some other banks, or in one way or another way these banks are basically dependent upon each other. There are huge interrelationships, there are high interrelationships that exist on ongoing basis between each and every bank. So let us take the case that it forms a nexus, like A bank, B bank, C bank is D bank is there, and these all banks are interrelated with each other. So now let us take the case that there is failure of bank D over here, that the single bank, there was a failure of bank D over here. Now this single failure of the bank will cause that all of the banks will collapse because of the high interrelationships. So this is related to what? This is related to the systemic risk. Okay, so systemic risk is a failure of whole banking system, and individual bank failure is one of the major sources of the systemic risk, that the whole economy is slowed down, and further the failure of individual bank basically leads to what? It leads to the failure of all the banks over there. Okay, so that is related to because of the high interrelationships that exist between the banks over there. Then it is related to the failure of a single bank generates a risk of a failure for all the banks that have ongoing commitments with the defaulting bank, and further it may cause a systemic risk. Okay, so the regulations are there so as to control and monitor the systemic risk. Then further, so as to protect the interest of the depositors, so as to protect the interest of the depositors, it is a necessity. It is a necessity. Further, it is related to maintaining the regulations over there, so it is under the scope of the regulations. Okay, then it is related to what? It is related to the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, that is BCBS, Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. So we have heard related to the temporal risk or the Hurstead risk, which was there due to the failure of the bank over there. So the Hurstead bank was basically failed, it was insolvent. So there was a transaction between a bank, let us take a bank name as Bank A in New York, and further Bank B in the Germany, and this particular bank is in earlier time zone, this is an earlier time zone, and this is in later time zone, so there was a deal in between them, contract in between them, forward contract in between them, and the settlement was made by the bank in the earlier time zone, but in the meantime, when one leg was settled, that the transaction by Bank A was settled, but yet not concluded by the Bank B. In that particular case, what happened? The B bank over here in Germany, it was basically collapsed, and further it was declared insolvent. Okay, and the bank was related to what? It was related to the Hurstead bank. That is why the risk over there, it is said to be what? It is said to be the settlement risk, or it is said to be the Hurstead risk or temporal risk. Okay, now the basic point was related to that, looking at this particular Hurstead incident that prompted the G10, that is a group of 10 countries, so as to come forward, and further they formed the BCBS under BIS. So they formed BCBS, that is Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, so as to have a supervision over all the banks, which will be basically forming the minimum standards for all the banks. And further, the G10 countries over there, the regulators from these particular countries, these basically conducted a meeting over there. They formed a committee which is named as a BCBS, that is a Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, and it was formed under the BIS, that is a Bank for International Settlement, and it is comprising of central bank governors from the participating countries. Okay, so now there come the first accord. The first statement was basically made public. It was made public, and further it is said to be the Basel I Accord. So deregulations in 1988, it inspired competition worldwide. So there was global competition, and also it resulted in increase of the risks associated. So when there was a deregulation, then also there was increase in the risks associated with the bank. Now because the banks were free so as to deal with the other banks worldwide, and that was a major that resulted in the risks over there. And further, the Basel Committee published a set of minimum capital requirements. So it is basically related to what? It is related to the Basel I Accord, that a set of documents were published over there which were related to setting up of a minimum capital requirement for the banks, and it is basically related to it as a 1988 Basel Accord. It is known as the 1988 Basel Accord, and these were enforced by law in the G10 countries. So it was in 1992 that these particular accords which were published in 1988 were enforced by law in 1992 by the G10 countries. Okay, So it was related to that a minimum capital is to be maintained by all the member countries. It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory, but it is just a direction. It is just an advice that if you want to follow the international standards, you have to follow these particular standards and these particular guidelines. So as per that, these guidelines were published and further these were enforced in 1992. Okay, so these were put in place. A framework for minimum capital requirement was there, and the RBI implemented the Basel I Accords in India in 1992. So RBI implemented Basel I Accords in India in 1992, and further these guidelines which were published in 1992 were not covering the market risk. Those were associated and only with the credit risk, that is the default risk, and the market risk was not covered. Okay, in 1996 it was the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. It published an amendment to the 1988 Basel Accord. It published an amendment to the 1988 Basel Accord and provided an explicit capital cushion for the price risk that is related to the market risk. Because in the previous lecture we discussed that the market risk is also said to be what? It is said to be the price risk. Okay, so previously only and only the capital was created, capital was required for the credit risk, for covering the credit risk. But later on in 1996, it was amended so as to create a cushion for the price risk too, that is for the market risk too. Okay, so banks were also exposed to the market risk in 1988, but that was not covered. But later on an amendment explicitly covered a cushion particularly for the price risk, that is the market risk. Okay, so RBI issued guidelines to the banks in June 2004 on maintenance of the capital charge for the market risk. Though the amendments were there in 1996, but Reserve Bank of India issued the guidelines in 2004 so as for the maintenance of the capital charge for the market risk. Is that clear? Kindly please confirm the audio video quality so that we could proceed. So kindly please confirm. So after that, it is related to the Basel II Accords. It is related to the Basel II Accords. So credit risk assessment. So why the revision was required? That is the first point. Why the revision was required? That is the first point. And Basel I Accord needed a revision because there were some reasons. So let us have a look at those particular reasons. So first of all, it is related to the credit risk assessment. So under the Basel I, it was not risk sensitive. It was not. Okay, so under the Basel I norms, under the Basel I Accords, the credit risk assessment was not risk sensitive enough. It was not risk sensitive enough because particularly the credit capital was to be maintained on a flat percentage basis. It was to be maintained on a flat percentage basis. It never looked at the fact that which type of the lending is particularly more riskier and which type of lending is not riskier. So it was not risk sensitive enough. It was not risk sensitive enough. It promoted financial decision making on the basis of the regulatory constraints. So okay, so the financial decisions were made on based upon the regulatory constraints and not on the basis of the economic opportunities. Okay, so the banks were not relying on their own decisions so as for extending the credits. They were not basically dependent so as to they were not basically relying on their own decisions that as per the market opportunities available, but the banks were lending depending upon the constraints imposed by the regulator, and also it did not recognize the role of credit risk mitigant. So there are multiple credit derivatives which are available in the market, whether it is a case of the CDS, that is a credit default swap, or the securitization or collateral or guarantees. It never recognized. So Basel I Accords were not recognizing the role of the credit risk mitigants. Okay, so that was why also the changes were required, the revision was required, and also it did not make into account the operational risks. So market risks were covered under the amendment to the 1988 Basel Accords, but still the operational risk part was not covered. The operational risk capital was not being maintained by the banks yet. So that was why a revision was required. A revision among the Basel I Accords were required. Okay,